Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:06. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here on a Wednesday morning in your nation's capital. Coming up later in the program, we got you covered at 8:05 with Riley Gaines, talk about a brand new book that just came out. And at 8:35, London Roberts. She's the mother of Joe Biden's grandchild who, well, we're not allowed to talk about. She's got a new book coming out, and, well, we are going to talk. We love talking about things we're not allowed to talk about, don't we, Patrice Onwuka?
We do. We go through the taboo topics.
So we'll get into all of that. Patrice is here because of our vacationing friend, Julie Gunlock. And,
yeah.
Patrice, we're joined now by Angela Morabito. She's the spokesperson for Defense of Freedom Institute and also a frequent guest host here on the program as well. To talk about what the Defense of Freedom Institute did here to rally the troops to get the two judges yesterday. Well, you tell us, Angela. This has to do with Biden's loan bailout scheme that the Supreme Court already said he can't do. And he brags about the fact that he circumvents the Constitution and the courts to do it anyway. But yesterday it hit another roadblock, right?
That's right. It's great to be with you both. And this is some very exciting news for taxpayers and a big relief from what President Biden was about to do to the student loan program. So you're right. After the Supreme Court blocked his initial giant bailout just about a year ago, Biden bragged about it and said, well, the Supreme Court said I can't do it, but that's not going to stop me. So he created this plan that UPenn Wharton estimated to cost taxpayers $559 billion. And ironically, he called it the SAVE plan. There were major pieces of this plan that were set to take effect on July 1st, but two federal judges have said, no, this is an overreach of executive authority, and we're not going to let these things take effect. They issued a preliminary injunction because they believe that ultimately the courts will find that this program is unlawful, so they're not going to put this burden on American taxpayers.
Well, thank God. Thank God somebody has some common sense, Angela. I mean, I have, a lot of student loan debt, but I made that decision to pursue higher education and a graduate degree and funded it through student loans. That's a responsibility on my shoulders. It is unfair to place it on the shoulders of someone else who didn't go to college, who didn't take on the debt, who, made other decisions, maybe paid it off. But do you think that this is going to be the end of the story, right? Because President Biden, we know, is lagging. He's losing a lot of support among millennials and Gen Zers. This was a play for votes from among young people. Do you think that him and his education secretary, Miguel Cardona, are done? Or are they going to keep trying at this apple, biting this apple with more student loan debt bailouts?
That's a great question, Patrice. And we know for certain that the Biden Education Department is going to appeal both of these preliminary injunctions. Secretary Cardona came out pretty much immediately after this news broke and said the story doesn't end here. We're going to keep fighting this. And it's interesting timing, right? Just a couple days before the first major presidential debate. Biden, of course, has been using this to try and buy votes. And he is very clearly not giving up now. So the story isn't over, but both of these injunctions are a super optimistic sign that courts know that this is unlawful because both judges involved here were actually Obama appointees.
Angela Morabito is our guest, Defense of Freedom Institute. And Angela, do you know what the status of loan repayment applications are? Because they, God, it took them forever. They can't do anything right, and they have trouble with basic functioning of government in this administration. But boy, howdy, they were Johnny on the spot getting their website out there and advertising it so that people could apply to get this free money that the government doesn't have to pay for something that they should have paid for themselves. That said, while they're taking all of these applications, now this thing is in limbo. What happens to everyone who's expecting this money? What happens to people who haven't signed up yet? Are they disbanding the website? What's going on with that?
Well, having worked as the Department of Education press secretary, I can pretty much assure you that Biden's education department is in a communications crisis. Because every time they've rolled out some sort of new student loan forgiveness, it's interesting when these people decide to be remarkably efficient, they have come out and said, look at this great thing that President Biden has done for you. The American taxpayer is going to pay off your debt. Of course, they say Biden did it because that's the spin that they want. So I would imagine the education department is having a very, very difficult time now communicating to borrowers who they had told July 1st, your debt goes away in full or in part. July 1st, look at this great thing we're doing for you. They were very, very quick to promise a lot to borrowers who wanted to have their loans wiped out or shifted onto their fellow Americans. And now their choices are either to backtrack or keep fighting this. So they're going to keep fighting.
So they're going to keep the thing going and go ahead and take people's information and register everyone in the hopes that eventually they'll get this thing back on. Interesting.
I would imagine that you. Sorry, go ahead.
Finish your thought, then I'll ask you a follow-up.
That's okay. I would imagine that they do. In the middle of all of this, I think it's important to note how Biden has historically been pretty terrible at administering the student loan program. I mean, you need to look no further than the FAFSA fiasco. And it's just come out that actually 1 million students who would have gone to college and would have gotten help from Pell Grants aren't going to get that assistance. So administrative incompetence here has stopped people in need from getting the college education that they want because he has blown up the FAFSA form so badly.
Yeah. If you could give President Trump, who's going to be debating President Biden, and I'm sure student loan debt will come up, a talking point or an idea, what would it be? How should conservatives be messaging on student loan debt other than to say, well, it is what it is? Because I think that there's got to be somebody who needs to be held responsible. I understand, and I understand the argument that, we took out debt, we signed on the dotted line, but there's the cost of college, there's the role of federal funding in higher education. So what talking point would you give President Trump to push back on Biden and the bailouts?
I think the most powerful argument here is just the unfairness and the federal overreach that's involved. Polling data shows that most Americans are not exactly thrilled with how Biden is handling the student debt issue. But of course, we all know that college is wildly expensive, and it's wildly expensive because the government has tried to make it cheap. So all that former President Trump, or really anybody who's concerned about this, ought to be doing is just showing how the deck is stacked against taxpayers and stacked against people who want to go get a great education, because there's been so little accountability for schools that are more than happy to keep that half of federal money running while they have programs that aren't really serving their students' needs.
Good.
Angela Morabito, Defense of Freedom Institute. And I also want to, first of all, congratulations on being a part of this great victory to stop this scheme, this unconstitutional student loan bailout scheme. But also, I want to point out, we've talked about the bus tour to save women's sports and protect Title IX rolling in yesterday in D.C. And Defense of Freedom Institute and your great leader, Betsy DeVos, was very much involved in that bus tour as well. Thank you for that great leadership, too. You guys are killing it at Defense of Freedom. And thanks for defending freedoms. That's kind of a nice thing to do.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun, and it has been a joy to see how fired up people are about protecting women's sports all across the country.
Thanks, Angela. It's 7:15 WMAL.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
On the next Vince Colonnade show, CNN doesn't want her speaking, but we do. Caroline Levitt from the Trump campaign joins us 3 to 6 right here on WMAL.
Well, when he wasn't grandstanding in the middle of the Capitol Rotunda screaming about how Republicans want children murdered in schools because we respect the Second Amendment, he was pulling fire alarms illegally and then getting away with it as he was trying to block a vote for a budget bill in the House. And all the same time, he was supporting and giving aid and comfort to terrorists who were murdering innocent people, including Americans and Jews over in Israel. Of course, I'm talking about Congressman Jamal Bowman, who sadly suffered a defeat yesterday at the hands of his own voters.
Not sadly for everybody else.
We're going to miss him so much. We're going to miss Jamal Bowman. We'll remember him, though. He lost to George Latimer in the Democrat primary for House District 16 by a 58-41 margin, but it wasn't even that close, frankly. And one of the great fringe benefits of all of this is the squad, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Hakeem Jeffries, and even Stephen Colbert. They went all in for this guy. They put all of their political capital on the line to try to save Jamal Bowman's skin, and they were all roundly defeated. And it's kind of a beautiful thing, actually.
Well, and you know what's so interesting? This was a race where millions of dollars were poured in on both sides to ensure, at least on his behalf, to ensure that he got reelected. It's funny how money and politics don't matter anymore now that Democrats have figured out a way to pour a ton of money in, either directly or through PACs. But money didn't win the day. And frankly, it was his behavior, his lack of accountability for all of his misdeeds, and the fact that he was too radical for the constituents that he was supposed to represent. You can't bash Israel. You can't bash Jewish people in your neighborhoods and then think, oh, it's fine. I'm still going to be reelected. That's not what he was elected for. And I think the people sent a very clear message that they wanted a more moderate candidate. And like I said earlier, I don't believe that you either have to be far left or, I don't know if you're going to call it far right. There really aren't that many far right people. But you can be moderate center right or center left, and you can get elected, because I think people are tired of the brash, loud, outlandish antics of a bunch of radicals who have no good ideas, and the ideas that they have destroy your communities, destroy your children, and destroy your lives.
George Latimer, the Westchester County executive who defeated Jamal Bowman, is hardly moderate, though. He is a leftist. He calls himself a progressive. His tax and spend big government ideas will fit in just fine with the Democrats and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. What George Latimer isn't is a loudmouth, foul-mouthed buffoon. He's not insane. He's not a radical, and he doesn't throw down with terrorists. And listen, the question will be, did Joe Biden and other Democrats learn the lesson? Cori Bush is also facing, also a member of the squad. She's facing a primary challenge in Missouri. The latest poll shows that is neck and neck right now.
Wow.
So we shall see how that goes. Also in yesterday's primary, you know what, really fast, I want you to hear some of Bowman's concession speech. This is cut 21, because even in the end, as he was foul-mouthed and screaming at his supporters, he was still dwelling in this fever swamp of anti-Semitism. Listen to all the dog whistles here.
We should not be well adjusted to a sick society. We should be outraged. We should be outraged when a super PAC of dark money can spend $20 million to brainwash people into believing something that isn't true. We should be outraged about that.
There you go. That's enough. There you go. So it's a sick society because he didn't win an election. And the dark money from a super PAC, that's a PAC who actually cares about the alliance between the American government and Israel. They brainwashed voters.
Oh,
See,
please.
it's those evil, magical Jews who can brainwash you. This is Jamal Bowman. This is the Democrat Party, and the question is, will Joe Biden learn this lesson, that maybe throwing down with these guys is not the way to victory?
I'd be surprised if he does learn that lesson.
Also yesterday, by the way, in an adjacent district, AOC, who was virtually running unopposed for re-election, she won handily. And Lauren Boebert, who switched districts over to Colorado's 4th to fill Representative Ken Buck's recently vacated seat. Ken Buck is retiring because he doesn't like all the Trumpy Republicans there in the House. She won that primary, even though a lot of people were lined up against her and put a lot of money into it. I honestly assume that she's going to win re-election there, or win election in the general in that district. Ken Buck was a longtime Republican district there in Colorado's 4th, but Lauren Boebert won, defying odds again. They keep telling us Lauren Boebert's going down in defeat, and yet she
and
keeps
she keeps
winning.
coming back.
Almost like the people in her district don't care what CNN thinks of her. Weird. It's 7:23.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:36 now. It's O'Connor and Company on WMAL. Thanks for tuning in here on this busy Wednesday morning. Coming up at 8:05, Riley Gaines was just at that big bus stop on the tour across the country to save women's sports and protect Title IX. She's going to tell us all about what she saw yesterday in D.C., but also about her brand new book that just hit yesterday. And then at 8:35, London Roberts. She's the mother of Joe Biden's granddaughter who, well, is neglected and ignored and not even acknowledged because Joe Biden's such a family man. We'll get into that later on in the 8 o'clock hour. I'm Larry O'Connor, also fresh from that bus tour. Patrice Onwuka, you served as one of the hosts last night over at Nats Park. It was quite a scene, wasn't it?
Whew. I'm still pumping it up. I'm still pumping it up from yesterday. It was great.
It really was. Listen, we've been talking quite a bit here about how Virginia suddenly is in play for the presidential election. And Glenn Youngkin, Governor Youngkin, was on the program a couple of weeks ago and called that shot.
That's
like
right,
a good
he
basketball stud that he is. And he said, Virginia is absolutely in play, and I'm going to work my tail off alongside Donald Trump to bring Virginia home for the Republicans. That would also be good news for Hung Cao, now the Republican nominee for Senate, as well as Mr. Clancy and Mr. Anderson, the new two nominees for the 10th and 7th District, respectively. We even know that Donald Trump, Friday, the day after the debate, his first public appearance will be a rally in Chesapeake. In Virginia specifically, and Glenn Youngkin for the first time will appear shoulder to shoulder with Donald Trump. So, you know, it's a big deal. Republicans are acting like Virginia is absolutely in play. Now, Patrice, most Democrats, they're pundits, they're analysts, they're surrogates, they'll go on cable news and say, Virginia is a done deal. Virginia is in the tank for Democrats. Republicans don't even stand a chance. This is just Donald Trump and the Republicans trying to make it look like they're stronger than they really are. But don't worry, Virginia is a done deal. Well, we have some news here that we'd like to share that suggests that maybe, in fact, the Democrats recognize that Virginia very much is in danger from their perspective of going Republican. Listen to this. The day of the debate, tomorrow, it has now been scheduled, like last minute, that First Lady Dr. Jill Biden will be going to Virginia Beach and doing a campaign stop on the day of the debate tomorrow. This was not scheduled, but they decided to go ahead and throw it out there. So the day before Trump has his rally down in Chesapeake, Virginia Beach area, Jill Biden, working as a surrogate for her doddering husband, will go down there and try to shore up support for Democrats. To me, that is a key indication that the Biden campaign recognizes that they've got some work to do in the Commonwealth.
I would take it a step further. I think the Biden campaign recognizes they need that Virginia is in play. Listen, it was so interesting. I can't find it. I've been struggling to find it all morning, but I did come across a transcript where a Biden campaign official was, they were being asked, okay, which state is in play? This state, that state, Florida? No, not really. Virginia? Yes. And I was like, wow, I wish I had saved that. Maybe it was on X. But it wouldn't surprise me if they feel like, there's going to be, they need to defend the purple ground. And maybe they're concerned that the Northern Virginia blue wall is not going to be enough to potentially hold up against what could be a red wave of support across the rest of the state.
Virginia journalist Jeff Shapiro, who covers the Old Dominion politically, refers to coastal Virginia, the Chesapeake sort of Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach area. As a swinging area. They tend to vote Republican for their congressman, but they tend to vote Democrat for president and governor in that area. Well, it's getting a lot of attention, and it'll be interesting to see the imagery, because you got Dr. Jill Biden, and this is not a rally. This is described. I'll tell you how they're describing it at the campaign. Dr. Joe Biden will travel to Virginia Beach to stop by a campaign organizing event ahead of the first presidential debate. I don't know what a campaign organizing event is, but she'll be there to greet volunteers and supporters. My hunch is that that's going to be a smallish affair. That's just going to be some cameras seeing the first lady shaking hands to people, who have been farmed in to sit in a campaign office to work the telephones or something. Meanwhile, Trump's going to be at a rally
and
with
it will
thousands.
Yeah, it will be massive. It's interesting that they're sending Jill Biden. Why aren't they sending Vice President Harris down
Good
there?
question. Good question.
Because I would think that, Harris is the one who's on the ticket alongside President Biden. So you would want her, if she's the best surrogate that there is, for her to be out. And maybe the better question is, who do they want to shore up support among? And why is it that that Jill Biden is the right person to send?
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're trying to shore up support among women and among older women, the moms, the suburban women. Maybe that's the image there, or the constituency they're trying to go after. Those are the women who are married to the military guys down at the naval base. Maybe that's what they're trying to get at and turn out.
Maybe. Let me tell you the details here, because it's been poll after poll after poll now that show either Biden and Trump tied in Virginia or Biden with a very slight lead. Real Clear Politics now has officially moved Virginia over, along with Minnesota, to the toss-up column. Okay, forever we've been looking at Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, and Georgia. Those have been the toss-up states. Well, let me tell you something. In those 7 states, Trump for the last 3 months has consistently been leading in those states, and he still does. If the election is held today, every single one of those states that I just named would go Republican for Donald Trump. They've now added 2 more states to the mix that are barely leaning Biden right now. According to the Real Clear Politics average, Biden is up by just 2 points in Virginia. And if you add, which you should, Robert Kennedy Jr. and Jill Stein and Cornel West, well, then Biden's lead shrinks to just 1.5 points in Virginia. So yes, Virginia is 100% in play. And Governor Youngkin will be a major player in this election, one way or the other.
I think he still could be a contender for the VP slot, Larry.
Oh, I think you're 100% right there. Watch that space. It's 7:44. So I don't know what to make of this story, Patrice. Maybe you can help me out. Hillary Clinton announced yesterday, that would be Hillary Rodham Clinton, by the way, whose major claim to fame is a stunning electoral defeat to Donald Trump in 2016. She will never be president. She announced that she's got a brand new book coming out in September. Oh, she's running. She so wants to be on the ticket. The book is called Something Lost, Something Gained. And, well, we know what the something lost part is, don't we? The election. Exactly. She says on X platform, it's about friendship, aging, and marriage, our politics and our democracy, the threats we face as a country, and how we can all work together to shape a future to be proud of. I can't wait to hit the road this fall to talk about it all with you in person, which is, by the way, fantastic. She's going to be out there sucking up the oxygen and selling her book while Biden's trying to get attention to get people to vote for him, assuming he's even on the ticket, which I still think is a crapshoot. Anyway,
it's to be seen.
This is why I'm torn, and this is why I don't know what to make of this. It's a new book by Hillary Clinton. It's called Something Lost, Something Gained. She announced it, and then she put out the cover art. And for some weird reason, see, I'm not a professional here, but if I were selling a book by Hillary Clinton about Hillary Clinton, then on the cover I would put a picture of Hillary Clinton. But instead, the publisher, and Hillary approved it clearly, decided to put a picture of some unrecognizable woman. I'm not quite sure who. She sort of bears a similar vague resemblance to Hillary Clinton, but not really. It's not. What's going on here? This is quite possibly artificial intelligence. This could be an AI rendering of Hillary Clinton.
Cheap fakes.
Exactly.
No, I've got it. I know what it is.
What is it?
This is Ozempic Hillary.
Oh, my. Oh. So she's got that Ozempic. They were talking about the Ozempic face that you get sometimes if you rapidly.
Yes, if you lose a lot of weight. Her face is obviously much smoother, so there's a lot of airbrushing. But when you look at the body, that does not look like her body right now. That doesn't look like her body in the past 20 years.
Oh no,
This is either somebody else's body or she's been on Ozempic and has lost a tremendous amount of weight. And now you're seeing this. This is like her Martha Stewart, I want to be hot look.
Oh, God.
Look, open it up, and she probably has a thirst trap bikini pic in there.
Don't even give her any ideas. Good Lord. We've already seen Nancy Pelosi's gazongas on the beach. I don't need to see Hillary's as well.
It's going to fly off the shelf, Larry. It's going to fly. And she will assure her spot on the ticket at the top.
So I hear you, and I don't think that this is not rapid weight loss, because our friend Andrew Stiles over at Free Beacon, he put a sort of a side-by-side picture out there on X, and the picture on the left is of June 16th, a week ago, 10 days ago, at the Tony Awards, and that's the, bucktooth overbite, chipmunk shakes sort of Hillary Clinton we've all grown to know and not vote for, with the same, sort of wrinkled, weird-looking neck and all the things that Hillary Clinton has always had. And then you've got this picture on the book cover, which she must have posed for prior to 10 days ago. And it looks like somebody went to Chat GPT and say, hey, AI, paint me a picture of what Hillary Clinton would have looked like if she were actually a happy, pleasant person at peace with the Lord. And that's what it's a beautiful picture. It's just not Hillary Clinton.
Well, listen, I'm going back to I'm defending my position. This is Ozempic Hillary.
You're going to die on that hill.
The title is Something Lost, Something Gained. She lost the weight. She gained a new look. It is it's the new Hillary.
Oh, well, there you go. All right. Well, listen, I know that you're all dying to buy the new Hillary Clinton book. You're gonna have to wait till September, but it is available for pre-order if you'd like.
Oh, goodness.
Listen, you tell us. We'll put this out here on our social media, and you can decide as you look at this picture if that in fact is Hillary. If it's not a younger version of Hillary.
No, it's not. She never looked this good.
It's just a Hillary her age, but improved and fake. It's fake. It's a cheap fake. That's what it is.
She kind of does have some alien eyes going on too. I'll just add that in there.
It is 7:53.